Now on set to break down the results, D.A. Davidson Managing Director Gil Luria got a hold rating on NVIDIA. That's special. Gil, welcome. So it looks like, to me, NVIDIA could be getting gradually less expensive here, given that the stock hasn't gone up, but they did, even though maybe slightly, outperform on some key metrics. Hyperscalers are continuing to buy these chips, and then Snowflake plus Anthropic and Snowflake's strength here in its results, doesn't that present a demand creation moment for NVIDIA?
Absolutely it does. I mean, these are remarkable results, as they have been reporting for the last 6 or 7 quarters. I think the reaction in the aftermarket is, hey, they need to do this at least 5 or 6 more times to justify the current valuation. If you think about the bull case here, and you've heard that many times today, it's that they can do $5 of earnings 2026 and trade at 35 times that. That's $175. That's the bull case. If they miss on any of those massive hurdle raises that they have for the next 5 or 6 quarters, the stock could be half of that. That's the challenge investors have to balance, is that there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Right now, though, the demand is fantastic.
Let me play Jensen's advocate here. The likelihood of them missing seems pretty low when you look at what looks like stability of hyperscaler demand. And the overall software demand pouring in. Microsoft at Ignite is just making the argument that people do want its AI offerings. They're continuing to spend on this stuff. So 5 or 6 quarters from now, it might be too late to get up off a hold rating. When do you do it?
Well, so consensus estimates are that NVIDIA is going to grow 50% next year. That means all those hyperscalers need to increase their already very high levels of CapEx by 50% or more. And they've been talking about, Sundar Pichai talked about overinvestment. Satya Nadella, to you yesterday, talked about catching up on investment. Those are not terms you use when you intend to continue to invest like that forever. Those are terms you use when there's a point where you're going to push the brakes. And if that happens next year, and NVIDIA has to guide to down results at any point next year, that's something investors need to be aware of.
But Gil, we're looking at data center revenue that's up 112% year on year this quarter. It's another record. And right there in the release, you have Jensen Huang talking about, basically the stack, about what this is going to mean for compute. We know inferencing is a big part of the story here. Software, partnerships. It's more than just the picks and shovels themselves in terms of the long-term trajectory for NVIDIA. So how much does that need to factor in?
Well, so I'm glad you brought up the picks and shovels analogy, because NVIDIA is selling picks and shovels. Microsoft, Amazon, Google are renting them out. But people actually need to find gold. They are not finding nearly enough gold to justify the levels of investment the hyperscalers are currently making. By our calculation, by the end of this year, Microsoft will have invested $80 billion in AI. Now, they'll have a $10 billion AI business from that, but it's still probably a money-losing business. And if Microsoft continues to increase spend, especially if it increases spend by another 50% next year, it's going to be that much harder to get a return on investment unless their customers start finding a whole lot more gold.
So if you have a hold on NVIDIA, and who's finding gold is sort of up for grabs right now, where do you invest? Especially when we talk about all of this spending that's happening from the hyperscalers and others, and then the halo effect of NVIDIA through that process when you think about supply chain and this demand versus supply picture.
Well, there is some gold being found. I don't want to say there isn't any. And again, you mentioned Snowflake earlier. They're finding some gold. That's encouraging. We want to see more of that. But the company that's really finding the most gold is Meta. Meta is buying these massive data centers with NVIDIA GPUs, and they're turning it into a way to sell more ads, to sell ads for more money. And they're growing their core business faster based on this. They're the ones that are finding gold, and that makes them the best investment of the mega caps in the growth of AI.
Wild card here, another OpenAI moment, right? Either from OpenAI or somebody else that juices investors' ideas about what valuation should be.
That's exactly right. If OpenAI comes in the next few months with a model that's exponentially better than the last model and shows that compute is still scaling, that these models are still scaling with compute, that's a game changer. It'll be a game changer for everybody, and we hope that happens. If it doesn't, and there's some signs that you've been talking about that it might not, there's going to be a letdown. And all that capacity that Sam Altman is asking for from Microsoft and others, they may not give it to him, because if he doesn't show results towards superintelligence, towards AGI, towards this omnipotent tool, he may not get more capacity. That's when you may see some hyperscalers putting the brakes on.